Hello everyone, welcome to the day two of React optimization hook. This is Tech Urvashi. I hope you all are doing well. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the previous session, that is day one, where we discussed about React.memo and useMemo hook. Okay, now I'll be sharing my screen. Okay, so I hope my screen is visible to all. Okay, so just to quickly recall what we did, okay, yesterday on the day one. So I'll just open this document. Okay, so here you can see this is what we discussed in previous session, that is yesterday. So we firstly created a like the situation where we can see what's the problem, and then we saw the solution using what is React.memo. It was high ordered component, and useMemo is one of the React optimization hooks. Okay, this is exactly what we did in day one. Okay, so what we are going to focus today on is use callback. Okay, so this is also extremely important. So before I actually go into reading this document and all, I've already prepared so that I can share it with you guys. Okay, so if you are someone who have not attended day one, it's great if you can go and attend day one because it's a continuation. Okay, so the all this 3 day that I'm going to cover, previous day, today, and the tomorrow, that is React optimization book. So I've taken a single app. Okay, I'll show you. So I've taken a single app so that we don't have to see these topics separately. Rather, we are going to understand it in a way how you will be using all these concepts together in a real-time application. Okay. So if I run this over here, you will actually realize and you will actually see that it's one application, and the same application, it's a continuation. Today, yesterday what we saw, today what we are going to see, and tomorrow what we are going to see. Okay, so I'll just going to copy this. Okay, and I'll paste it here. So you can see this is where we continued. Okay, this is what we did. So we worked on this event. Okay, I told you this is your day one events. So today is day two. So we'll be working on dashboard, and tomorrow we'll work on live feed. And all these pages, what we are working on optimizing them. Okay, firstly we'll create them. We'll see the situation where there is a problem, and once we see the problem, okay, then we will fix it. Okay, so right now it's very clean, proper structured. If you have attended my previous day one, okay, you must be remembering I already explained the structure and everything of the code. If you have not, then you can just go back to go and watch day one of React optimization book. Okay, so quickly we'll see this. So we worked on this yesterday, we'll be working on this dashboard today. So if I click on this, you can see I'm here. Okay. So on this dashboard, what we are going to do is, firstly, we want to see use callback hook today. Okay. So since we want to use callback hook today, first of all, we will see that how can we uh, come up or land up in a situation where I want this use callback. Okay, it is one of just like use memo. It is one of the call hooks that we have. Okay, so in use memo we memorize the value. Okay, we memorize the value. In case of use callback, we memorize the function. We memorize the function value. Okay, this is what we do. So what this function, what this use callback will help me. So again, the problem is again of re-rendering only. Whenever a re-rendering happen, and if there is a function created, okay, then if it's re-rendering, because we know re-rendering means the same. If there is any state change, the complete component will re-render from top to bottom. Okay, the same set of lines of code of a component will run from top to bottom file. Okay, so in that, there are situations we have a function. Okay, and we don't want unnecessary recreation of the functions when a re-rendering of a component happens. Okay, so that is when we use callback. Okay, but this is all theoretical, the definition that will help you in cracking the interview in terms of explanation. Okay, and yesterday, if you remember, I told you guys there are two reasons we are learning this concept. Okay, React optimization. First reason is that we want to understand as a working professional where I can apply. I can, like, after learning this, you can go and apply in your real time application. Second reason is interview prep. Okay, so explanation for interview prep, I told you also that three things are important. The explanation, that you will easily get it on online, or you can always explain it in your words once you learn the concept. second is the syntax, and third is real-time application. Okay, so now let's go. Firstly, we'll build this. Okay, we will see what's the problem first. Okay, and then we will see. So when you have, just like yesterday what we did, we created the situation, and then I told you like this is the place you use memo. So firstly, we'll exactly follow the same structure. Firstly, we'll see what's the problem and how we can solve it with use callback. Okay, like when like do I need to memorize every function? So we have to see, like we can't memorize each, like we are not going to memorize each function, right? So what type of functions we actually need to memorize? Okay, so we'll see that. So here, so there are two components I'll be working on today. Firstly is dashboard. What we are going to do in this dashboard, we are going, let's say there are some VIP events. Okay, so in this dashboard, let's say there are some set of data which is going to be some VIP events. Okay, so I want to create a bookmark functionality. Plus, I'll create some counter here. If I, so again, we have to work with the same thing, that there will be one state with two state variables. One will have the bookmarked data, and second will have the, let's say, counter variable. Okay, so let's do it. So I'll create two state variables here. Firstly, I'll say bookmarked. Okay, so we are going to bookmark the event, VIP events. Okay, so just like we created yesterday, bookmarked is equal to use state. Okay, it will be empty array, and here I'm going to put a counter. Okay, counter, because if you want to see like how one component re-rendering is impacting the other set of functionalities, just like use memo we did, so we want to see that. So that's why we are creating two state variables. Okay, now some VIP events will be there, some VIP sessions would be there. Okay, so if you remember yesterday we created some events like these. Okay, let me open the file just to recall. So like this we created the events. The same way I'll create some sessions today. Okay, so I'll say there will be some VIP sessions is equal to array dot from. So we are using this array function constructor. It has from method. Okay, inside this I'll say now how many sessions I want. 50 VIP sessions. Okay, and in that I want underscore comma I. Okay, I will represent the value, okay, of the each id. Okay, so id is, let's say, one of id is I for my session, and name will be, let's say, some master class of my VIP session column. Okay, this id. Now we have to use template strings for variable and expression substitution, like this. Okay, so I've just randomly created some session. So I'll just put it here, let's say React.js. So let's say React.js related some master classes going to happen. Okay, so the real time this data will come from an API. Okay, the only difference is in real time this part of data will come from an API. Okay, for now I have created a random data. Now what I want here, now I want two functionalities. One, if I click on a counter, the counter should increment. Second, if I click on any session, that very session should be bookmarked. Okay, so these are the two set of functionalities we want to implement. Okay, so how we are going to implement, it's very simple. Okay, so firstly, we'll create again using Tailwind CSS. I'll be creating the structure first quickly. Okay, I could have written like this pre-structured code of CSS, Tailwind CSS, but I'm not doing it. Okay, so if, let's say, when you work with React, generally you use Tailwind CSS. Okay, so it's a quick recall or practice for you guys. Okay, so here, this is what. So similar classes, I'm not going to use something which is way too different in terms of styling and colors, because we always want uniformity in a website in terms of color. So we go with a similar structure, colors. So I'll create another div here. I'll give a class name. So now two parts I want to create. Again, I'm repeating. One part will be the counter click. Okay, and one part will be, let's say I'll give it a name called VIP dashboard. Okay, and one part of this will be bookmark data. Okay, so here I'll create this heading, and then I'll create one button here. Okay, this div contains two things, one heading to, one button. So heading 2 is going to be this. In on this heading I'll apply some CSS. Okay, so I'll say class name is equal to text hyphen 2xl, and then I'm going to apply font bold. Okay, that's like font weight. Okay, then I'm going to apply color, let's say text slate hyphen 900. Okay, so this is how it will be. Now button click, let's say counter Okay, I'll create a button called this counter. Okay, and when I click on this button, okay, and let's display this counter value just next to this button. Okay, as a part of this button, let's say counter. Okay, so now what will happen if I click on this button, now what I want, the counter should increment. Okay, this is what I want. If I click on this button, okay, let's say counter increment, let's keep it very simple. Counter increment, I want to update the state variable. Okay, so what I want to do, I just want to do on click, okay, is equal to curly braces. Okay, I want to update, so I'm doing it in the same place. Of course, you guys can create a separate function and then also call it. Okay, we'll always pass the callback here. Okay, because the state data can take some time to update, so I'll keep it like this. Okay, so I'm updating it in the same place. Okay, C is like previous value. Okay, so I'm updating it in the same place. So this is my div tag. Okay, in which we have two things. One is the heading, this will come on the left, this will come on the right, and again we have to provide some CSS property. Let's say justify between, that is like horizontally align the content. Let's say items should be center. Okay, then margin bottom 6. Okay, this is what I want here. So this is one part of my website. Okay, or one part of my dashboard. Second part of my dashboard is, okay, I want to show the bookmark. Okay, so now what will happen here, all this data, okay, will come. Okay, okay, I have one question, ma'am, are you using TypeScript or JS? Oh, I'm using JS in today's session. So yesterday, today, and day after, like the tomorrow, all the this for this React hooks bootcamp specifically, I'm using JS. But yes, I, like I said yesterday in yesterday's session, if you guys want me to cover specific anything in Burn Stack and GenAI, okay, if you want me to cover the same in TypeScript, just put it in the comments. Even right now, if you guys are attending or after the session, after the session is ended and then you are watching the same live, okay, video of mine, you guys just feel free to put it. I'll be more than happy to cover any concept of GenAI and Burn Stack. Okay, so here we have this, okay, and even interview prep related. Okay, so anyways, next week I'll be doing, so every week these sessions happen. Okay, or let's say I'm doing it from past 2 weeks, so now it's going to happen every week. This is what I want to share. Okay, so you guys can feel free to just subscribe, okay, and stay updated. And you can also join this WhatsApp community. The link is in the description, okay, so that you stay updated. And all this is like, you just need to any topic you feel confused about, just feel free to put it. Okay, all right, coming back to this, so we have created this page, just a heading where I want to display the number of bookmark session. Okay, whatever we are going to bookmark. Okay, just like we do wish list functionality to a products data, right? Bookmarking is like that. So we are just going to put it in the wish list, just like we put wish list products in the wish list functionality. Okay, and also let's apply some CSS to button also, otherwise it will look like very blank. Okay, so for button, let's apply this. Then we're going to apply padding, then background color, let's say emerald 100. Okay, and text, I'll say emerald only. Okay, emerald is like very darkish green, like very light and dark green, like in between dark and light green color. So that's your emerald color. Okay. So text color will be this, background color will be this, padding top and bottom, padding left and right. I've applied. Okay. Then after last part is to display this data. Okay. Then we are going to see the problem, and then we are going to solve it with use callback. So I'm quickly going to create a div. Okay. Now here, yesterday also and today also I used Tailwind classes for Flex. Today I'll show you guys one example with grid. Okay, so with grid you can define grid calls, means column structure. Let's say one. Okay, then for medium screen I'll say grid calls two, means medium screen two will come, and there should be a gap of 4. Okay, and now what I want to do is I want to display this data of sessions. Okay, now the session data that we have created over here, I'm just going to select this and I'm going to say sessions dot map. Okay, we are going to map over this data. Again, there are two options, either I do this and write return, because we know in arrow function, and if it's a single return statement, then I can write it more shorter like this. Okay, and now this is now where your session item will come in picture. Okay, so this session item is the component where we'll be displaying each and every session data. Okay, So I'm going to import this session data over here. Okay, we are not exporting, we are exporting. Okay, I'll copy the name. Okay, generally the import part should happen automatically, but if it doesn't, it's okay. We'll just type it the session. So just like we created event card yesterday, if you guys remember event card. This is the exact same step. So I'm iterating over the session data and I'll say session item. Okay, and inside this session item, I'll be sending all the data. Like I'll be sending key attribute. Okay. Let's say that will be my session.id. Okay. Via props, right? Using HTML attributes and all this data will be received there as prop. I'll be sending session. Okay. Complete session. Then here, now what is this session? This is basically one complete session it represents. Okay. After that, I'll send this, let's say is bookmarked. Okay, now in this bookmarked, okay, I'll send this data. Okay, so I will simply say bookmarked dot includes. Okay, so bookmark in dot includes means I will be sending the id of that very session. Okay, so is bookmarked is going to be a boolean value where it says bookmark dot includes session dot id. So whichever element we are going to bookmark, like we'll be implementing bookmark functionality. Okay, so I will be sending that. Okay, and then after that I'll say on bookmark I'll be sending this method to update the or make this bookmark. Okay, so I'll create a function here quickly. I'll say const handle book mark. Okay, I'll create this function. Okay, and in this function the updation part will happen. So I'll be copy this, I'll be copying this and I'll be pasting it here. Okay, so what we are trying to do is simply, if I draw the structure over here. Okay, so I hope you guys know about inverse data flow. Sorry, I hope you guys know about inverse data flow, right? Inverse data flow is, so in React, what happens by default, it is one-way data binding. Okay. So let's say this is the structure. I have events here. I have dashboard. Okay. Today we are working on dashboard, and here I have live feed. This live feed we'll see in tomorrow. Okay. Now inside this dashboard, there is one component. Okay, that is called session item. That's called session item. Okay, this is how it is. Now what I'm saying is there is a state data present here, right? I hope you know by default in React, the data flow is top to bottom. Via props we send the data. That is one way data binding. But forcefully, if you want to send that data from child to parent, then the concept is called inverse data flow. Okay, how to send that data? It's very simple. Let's say there is a state data present here. Okay, and I am sending the state data here and displaying the display part is happening here. Okay. Now I will be bookmarking. So book, of course, I'm displaying the cards here, right? It's like product cards, session cards are displayed here. So bookmark button will be on the card. So I will be bookmarking from here. So whichever product, whichever session has been bookmarked, I have to send it to the and update it in the original state because state is present here. I am sending the state data via props from top this dashboard to session ID. You can see dashboard to session ID. I'll be displaying this data. So I'm sending this data over here. Okay. So and then whenever I will update that, if I click on bookmark, okay, like I'll be clicking on bookmark. That is like a delete button on each session, just like we have delete button on product. Just like that, I'll be having a bookmark button on each session card. So when I will click on that bookmark button, then I have to go and update this value in this state. So now the whenever you have to send data from child to parent, the concept is called inverse data flow. How to implement? You create a function over here. You pass that function to the child component, or let me write it here. What is inverse data flow? Okay. If you guys know, it's great, but just if someone doesn't know, I'll quickly tell in dashboard. Okay. So we will create the function in parent component. Okay. Send that function, send function via HTML attribute. Okay, that's why it's called callback function. This function is called your callback. Simply, if you have a function here and you're sending it to this function, right? So it will be like a callback function. Okay, then you call that function from child. Okay, and update the state in the parent. Okay, So whatever I just said, let's quickly see, because we will have to do it, because the state data that I want to update will be present here. This bookmark data, whichever product or whichever session has been bookmarked, I have to store it inside this. Okay, this is the function and this is the state. But book, because I'm displaying the session cards in this component, the bookmark button will be here. So updation or the initiation of the updation will start from here. But I have to come and update it inside this state data, this bookmark state, right? So again, same concept. The state is in parent. I want to update it from the child. How to send the data from child to parent, and because state can be updated here only, right? So I can just simply do inverse data flow. Okay, so you create a function here. Okay, you create the function in the parent, send that function via HTML attribute. This is exactly what I'm doing. Now this function is like a callback. Okay, because what is the session item? Session item is a function, right? So at the end of the day, this piece of code is going to convert like this, right? Babel will convert this function, and this is exactly what we call as book callback, right? So bookmark will go there as a function, because handle bookmark is like a function, so you're passing a function as an argument. So I can call this function like a callback, right? Because I'm passing this function here. I hope you guys know that this piece of code you see here, session item, Babel will convert this back to your normal plain JavaScript. Okay, so Babel will convert this. So all this you see, session item, basically in your mind it should be like this. Okay, session item, everything you are sending, they will go there as arguments. Okay, all the data will go there as arguments. Okay, so this key session is bookmark, all this data will go like a argument. So we know when we pass function as an argument, that's called callback. When you pass function as an argument, right, function as an argument to another function, it's called callback function. Okay, that's why I can say handle bookmark is like a callback function. Now I will receive this data like a props here. Okay, so here I will see this data like a prop here. So I will be just doing destructuring and getting this data here. Okay, so now what we are going to do here is simply, I will simply say uh, to display this data. Okay, so quickly let me just copy this names. Is bookmarked, session is bookmarked, and on bookmarked and on bookmarked. Okay, so these three things which we sent from there, we will receive it here as parameter. Okay, now last work is just to display the session data, and then we will see what's the problem. Okay, we'll see the code problem, like what is the hidden problem is there, which we, or let's say invisible problem, which we don't see when we use this. Okay, and I will simply say div. Okay, I'll say span tag. Okay, class name is equal to font medium, that's like font size. Okay, then I will be providing text color, let's say slate 800. Okay, and I'll say session dot name. Okay, these are the properties I've created. Okay, name, id. Okay, so we'll be displaying this session name. After this there will be a button, like I mentioned. On this, on click of this button, we will be displaying the, okay, or putting it in the bookmarked. Okay, so I will click on this button. Let me just apply some css to it. So I'll say class name is equal to, okay, I'll say px. Okay, that's padding. Then I'll apply top and bottom. Rounded will be medium, text small. Okay, font bold, transition. Okay, colors. Okay, transition colors. And then here I will simply say, now there are two things. Okay, when this is bookmark and when it is not bookmark, like it, and you are just bookmarking it and unbookmark it. Okay, that is what we will see here. Okay, so what we will put here is simply will say something like this. Okay, I'll say if this is bookmarked, if you guys see, this is the boolean value, like I said. So is bookmark means if this bookmark, this array contains the element which is having session.id, if it includes this session.id, means it is true, then only those sessions which is bookmarked will come. Okay, so you will say if it is true, then I'll say background color indigo. The styling will be different, right? 600. Okay, and I'll say text hyphen white. Otherwise, so what we're using ternary operator. Otherwise, I'll say slate. Okay, 200 text slate 700. Okay, and then if you hover over it, then I want to change the background color to this. Okay, this is how it's going to come. Okay, and what will be the button content? Okay, so we are getting some issue, I guess. Let me bring it to next line. Okay, is bookmark. Okay, so this symbol is wrong. It should be question mark. Okay, so now you see. So CSS will also change. So the CSS is fixed. It's going to come. Plus this CSS will change based on if this is true, then this will come. If it is false, then this CSS will come. Okay, and what will be the content of the button? It is very simple. If it is bookmark, okay, then bookmarked will come. Otherwise, I'll say bookmark. Okay. And this value is coming for each. Now you guys might be wondering, okay, how like there is no state variable for maintaining the bookmark. But if you guys come and see here, what we are doing here, that we are sending this, that's why we are displaying the complete, like one session card will represent one session item. Okay. So you will see I'm iterating here only, and for every session I'm sending this is bookmark. So if that session ID includes in this bookmark, okay, that means it's true, means that is this here true will come, and then the CSS will come. If let's say there is a session which is not bookmarked, this value will be false. So for that, it will not come. Okay, that is how it will see the values. So this is how it's going to come as the content. Okay, and then we learned one concept yesterday, right? React.memo. So whenever you have a parent component and there's a child component, okay, in which you are sending some prop data, and if that prop data is not changing, you don't want to re-render this child component. So we just wrap it in memo. Okay. So I will just wrap it in memo. Okay. So I will simply say memo. Okay. It will take this function, or let me just put it here there itself. I'll say memo, and I will wrap it here. Okay, this memo, if anyone have not attended, so we discussed about memo in the yesterday session. Okay, why we use memos? Because if my parent component, okay, have some state data and I'm passing that data as props, if till the time that state, let's say counter will change, right? But if bookmark is not changing, there is no point of sending this updated data, right? That's why we are using memo. Okay. And one more thing, let's apply class here. I'll say class name is equal to, I'll say padding border. Okay, we'll apply border slate, let's say 200 rounded. Okay, LG flex. Just in like 5 minutes, we are going to discuss about the problem. Okay. Just like we did in yesterday's session, exactly the same way. Okay, for use memo and memo. Okay, so this is how I've applied, and of course, we will import the memo like this. Okay, this is how it's going to come. And I'll just put it like this. Okay, so now let's see if it's working. Okay, so there is no logic I've written inside this function. Okay, we'll be putting it, but before that, let's see if it's this part is working or not. Okay, so we are having some error. Let's see. Okay, so we got content. Okay, there is some syntax issue. Okay, I'm getting an error on this on click. Okay, so what is this on click? Basically, when you click on bookmark, this is exactly what I want to do. So basically, when I call this on click, okay, let me remove this and fix this. Okay, now you will see if I do on click on this. Okay, so if I click on this bookmark button, okay, basically this is what I want to display. Okay, you guys can see it's coming perfectly fine. So if I click on counter, see counter value is incrementing. Let me just put some space between that. Okay, you can see it is incrementing. This is working fine. Okay, now bookmark means if I click on this, this value should be bookmarked. Okay, so now you can see that this state data is present in this parent component called dashboard display part. Every card, every session card like this. Okay, you can see this is one session card, this is second session card. So bookmark button is present here. Okay, so bookmark button is going to be present here. So if I click on this button, I want to display, okay, or I want to update this value from true to, or for that very id of session id I want to bookmark it. Okay, so now we are going to apply on click on this. Okay, so what we are going to do is, okay, let me just do one thing. I'll apply padding on all the sides here. Yeah, now it's looking better. Okay, so how you will do, because now what is the function to update? The function to update is from here, handle bookmark. This is the function where we have to update. Okay, here the logic will come, and this is the same function I'm sending for each and every session card, for every session card or session item I'm sending it. Okay, so now this function is also something we are receiving here. Okay, so I will simply say here how to work with this. I will simply say on this on bookmark is here. Okay, so handle bookmark is basically your on bookmark. Okay, so I will come and say on click. Okay, so now you see here the function is inside the parent. Function is inside the parent. We are sending this function in child and calling it from the child component. Okay, and send the data in the parent. Okay, so now this is your inverse data flow. So I will simply say on bookmark. Okay, and we will simply send session or id, means the element or the session that I want to bookmark, I'll just send that element or that very id. Okay, so simply we just have to send the session id. So we created a function in the parent, we pass this via props. Okay, then we are calling this function from the child, and then as argument, just like when you call a function you pass the argument, we are receiving it here as parameter. Okay, so I'll call it as id. Okay, this is called your inverse data flow. The concept is called inverse data flow. Okay, and now let me quickly just write this logic. Okay, and then we'll see the problem with this code. Okay, so now I will simply write the logic inside this function. Okay, so I will simply say set bookmarked. Okay, because I will get that record the session id, simply I'll just push that object inside this bookmark. Okay, and we'll say call we'll get the previous value. I'll say previous value. Okay, and we will simply say previous dot includes. If this previous value dot includes means if it is already bookmarked. Okay, then we will unbookmark it. Okay, because we have to, it's like toggle we are trying to implement. Okay, so we'll simply put filter here. Okay, and why we are doing this step, because we just want to check that if it is bookmarked then that will come, otherwise previous value comma id should come. Okay, because if you click on it, it should be bookmarked. If you click on it, it should be unbookmarked. Okay, so it is something like that, just like you do add to wish list. So now what will happen, if you will get the previous data of what, with previous data of bookmark. So previous data of bookmark will come, we will just check if it includes this id. Okay, then previous dot bookmarked, previous dot filter means bookmark dot filter. We will check if that id already exists. If it already exists, okay, then it will be bookmarked. If it already existed means it we need to unbook like unbookmark it, like we have to remove it from bookmark. If it's not there, then it will be added in the previous value. So either this will execute or this will execute. Okay, based on this condition. So if it is already bookmarked, then this will happen. If it is not bookmarked, then this will happen. Okay, so now let's see if I just quickly come and refresh this part. Okay, now just see here. Can you all see bookmark is working? So if I click on it, okay, just see. If it already there, then it will unbookmark it. If it is not there, okay, it will be false. Then it will create, using spread operator, it will create the copy of the previous bookmark data, and then we will add the new record to it. New record is which the ID of that record, whichever user is clicking on. Okay, now just see, it's working. Okay, it's working. Okay. And we also use memo here so that this piece of code should not execute that number of times. Okay, now I will show you the problem part. Okay, so I'll say 50 VIP sessions. So now the same concept, even though I've applied memo, this component should not re-render. This component should not re-render, right? Because only it should re-render this component, child component, only when the data has changed. We discussed that memo. Okay, now what is the problem here? You have, so now there is an observation. You have a function here. Okay, now we know if I update counter, when I update the counter, the complete function is going to execute top to bottom. The component will re-render. Okay, so every time handle bookmark will be created again. Okay, every time. I'll show you now the problem. Okay, so you will see we didn't wanted to execute this piece of code. Okay, even though the data has not changed, means if I'm not updating anything related to bookmark, right? So this should not execute because I have applied memo there. Okay, but if I go and console this, okay, and now just see here, I will be clicking on increment. Okay, can you all see if I'm clicking on increment, this VIP sessions are coming. Okay, and also let me quickly do it. Let me display the session ID so that you can see these are different IDs are coming. Okay, so I'll say 50 VIP session column session.id. Okay, so this is how it's going to come. So now just come here and see if I'm updating counter. Okay, if I'm updating counter, which is state variable counter, which has nothing to do with bookmark here. Okay, so this part should not re-render, right? Ideally, it should not because I'm not updating anything in session. It's bookmark or on bookmark, but you will see if I click on bookmark. Oh, if I click on counter, okay, if I click on counter, see here 50, the total number of sessions from 0 till 49 is coming. If I click on this again this piece of code is executed. If I click on this again, means this piece of code is executing every time, even though I'm not changing anything in this related to bookmark. The reason is that whenever re-rendering happens, in case of this function, which is basically like a callback function, because you have passed this function as a argument, like as a prop, you're sending it to this component, right? So this is like a callback. So what is happening that every time you're updating counter, okay, click event is fired, okay, and this function is called and the counter is updated, then the complete component is re-rendered. So this function over here, this is created every time, and functions are passed by reference. So reference of this function is changing after every re-render. So for this session item component, it's like handle bookmark is changed, because if you're changing the reference, right, the address of this is changed, the new copy of it is being created on every re-render, right? So you are always getting the updated handle bookmark. Now handle bookmark is updating means for it, it means that the data has changed even though data has not changed. Okay, so this is the problem over here. Okay, this is the problem. I hope it's this part is clear, that I have this function over here. If it's clear, just put it, you guys can put it in the comment section, that I have a function here. Okay, I am passing this function as an argument, and or I'll call it as HTML attribute here. I'm receiving it here as prop, and then I'm doing the logic. Okay, so even if I don't change anything in this part, you will see that, and I'm using memo here, right? Memo, why we are using, so that this is not going to re-render this part till the time you are actually going and updating something here. Okay, you are actually going and updating something here. So now if I click on counter, just see here. So if I'm clicking on counter, this complete component is re-rendered. Okay, so what has changed? Actually, the new copy of handle bookmark, the reference of the bookmark has changed. Okay, so that is the reason. Since for React, it's like handle bookmark, new a function is created again, the reference has changed. So session item component will think like, oh, this data function has changed, the new reference of this has come, means the function has changed. Now let me re-render this, even though I have not changed anything in that. Okay, so what we need to memoize, we need to memoize this function, the complete function reference. Okay, just like use memo is used to memoize the values, use callback is used to memoize the function. So I have to memoize this function, that if anything will change, then this should be memoized, otherwise not. Okay, so what we will do, just like we did the other thing. Okay, use memo, the syntax is very similar. Okay, so you will simply say const. Okay, same or similar thing. Okay, we will just wrap it in a use callback. So I'll say const handle bookmark, same function I'll create. Okay, is equal to use callback. Okay, it will take first function, first argument as a function. Okay, and second is the dependency array. Okay, so in dependency array, you guys have to mention, like, let's say some state data has changed, then you want to call it. Okay, or you can pass empty array, means only initial rendering it will be called, otherwise not. Okay, and then I will just cut this logic and I'll paste it here. I will just paste this logic over here. Okay, and also let me do one thing, let me keep the previous data also. Okay, so that when you guys go and revise, you should know. Okay, this is without. Okay, and this is with use memo. Now you will see, if I change the counter value, okay, if I will change the counter value. Okay, so here I'll say ID. Okay, now if I come here, now you will see if I change the counter value, now it should not read any. See if I click on counter. Can you all see if I click on counter? Now I'm not getting those VIP sessions over here. Means now it has memoized the value of this. Okay. And of course, if you want to update bookmark it, that part will still work. Okay. So whichever record you're bookmarking for that, only for that, now just observe. If I do click on this bookmark, right? So whichever you're bookmarking, only for that that re-rendering is happening. Only for that record. Okay. Not for the completed. So how much iterations? Now just think about it. I have created 50 sessions. Like this, there will be almost thousand lakhs of data. So lakhs of iterations you are saving by doing this. Okay. So if I click on counter, now you can see this component is not re-rendered. Yes, if I change the bookmark, if I let's say unbookmark it, only for whichever you are unbookmarking, only that will update. Okay, that is happening because of your memo. Okay, so this is called your use callback. So use callback is for this function which is like a callback which you are passing it here as to the child. When it is called from the child, okay, you are updating, then it's fine, no problem. But if there is any another state variable in this because of which re-rendering is happening, there is no point of creating a new copy of this function because functions are non-primitive, they are passed by reference. The reference, the address is getting changed. So for session ID, it's like the address means the new reference has come. Let me go and re-render it. Okay, but there's no point. So we will memorize it. And we are now it depends. You can have some IDs also. It depends on the requirement. I can't pass ID here because ID is something we are getting as a call as an argument, right? So I will get it here only. Okay, so it depends. So right now, initial only initial rendering this address is created, and in the complete component cycle, this is not going to a new copy of this is not going to be created. Okay, so this will save a lot of iterations for us. I hope this is clear. This is called your use callback. Okay, this is your use callback. Okay, memoizing the function. Okay. Someone is saying, ma'am, there is recent data direct app to session. There we send data direct app to session. Is there a way that we can send data direct app to session? I didn't get your question. Like, are you asking like session data, like if you want to share in some component? I didn't get the question. If you can reframe the question. Okay. All right. Okay, so whatever I spoke, whatever I said, whatever I mentioned in today's session, it's all here. You go read the concept. Okay, so you can just go and check this part. Okay, there is one thing called closure trap. I'll talk about this just in a while. Okay, so you can see this complete part. So this is what I was calling as invisible bug. You don't realize in your mind, you feel like, I've used memo. When this data will change, then only it will re-render, right? But if you have a callback, it's not going to. Okay, it will actually re-render even though the function, the data has not changed. Okay, because the function reference has changed. Now there is one thing that is closure trap. Okay, so if your use callback function relies on a state variable, but you forget to put the variable in the dependency array, the function will execute. Okay, using old data. So always rely on this. So what is this basically? I'll just comment out this part quickly, and I'll show you guys one thing. Okay, what does this line mean? This line means if you do something like you don't update it with the updated one, like you update the value like this. You guys might have updated the state data like this dot id. Okay, that you got the record. Okay, then you will bookmark it and then you will just put this id over here. Okay, so what does this statement means? What does this statement mean? Okay, that if you do it like this, the problem is if you click on bookmark, okay, and you won't be able to unbookmark it. Okay, because of, and let's say if you click on bookmark, okay, and you go to this, you go to this, or you go to this. Okay, now why is this problem happening? Why am I not able to bookmark multiple records if this is not there? Okay, the reason here is this concept called closure trap, that which is basically now you are, now whenever you use a callback without any dependency array, means if you don't put any state variable here. Okay, if you don't put any state variable because of which ideally this function should be called. Okay, let's say you pass empty array. The problem here is because empty array means on initial rendering, right? It's just like you pass it in use effect, right? Empty dependency array means this piece of code will execute only on initial rendering. Okay, after that this will be called only when the data will change, right? So I'm not able to send id, I can't send because that is passed by argument from the child component. Okay, I will be receiving it here. So in this case, the problem here is that it will not be able to recall the previous value directly. So whatever your bookmark was, okay, it will always start with the empty array, because this piece of code, just think about it, that this piece of code will only execute on the initial rendering. After that, only this piece of code will execute only when you're actually updating something in the bookmark. And every time your bookmark, because on initial rendering there's no dependency array, bookmark will always start with an empty array. So for this, it's like empty array, okay, and then add ID to it, then add ID to it. So that's why only one will be bookmarked at a time. Okay, only one will be bookmarked at a time. So to solve this problem, that's why I have used this, that you do, like, we can pass a callback function, right, in this set methods. Okay, just like I've passed it here. So I'm assuming you guys are aware about passing this callback. Even here I've used while updating the counter. Okay, so to avoid this closure trap, that's why we are going with this step. Okay, this is how it is. And now you can see, okay, did I miss some spelling? Let me check. Okay, so some syntax I've missed. Okay, let me just do Control Z. Okay, and I'll uncomment this. Now you can see it's all working fine. This is also working. Okay, and this is also working. Okay, and no unnecessary re-rendering is happening. Okay, I hope this is clear. Okay, you guys can go back, read this document, and I hope you know how to get this document. If you want to get access to this document, so just after this session I'll be putting it in the WhatsApp community, which you can join through the description. Like, the description of that community is mentioned in the YouTube description of this. Okay, the link to join this community. So all this session code, okay, this complete code that I was writing, plus whatever I was, this complete document. Okay, like you can see, yesterday's one was React optimization one, today's React optimization two. Okay, and notes is exactly what I write here. Okay, that's your notes. So 1, 2, 3 means day one, day two, day three. Okay. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Okay, it was clear. And again, lastly, before we wrap, I hope you like. I'll be waiting for you to see you guys on day three, that is tomorrow. Okay, and just wanted to mention that next week we are doing a lot of, not more coding based, but rather more tech, like holistically knowledge based, how IT industry is driving and how IT will be driving in this AI revolution, right? Because like I said, I mentioned IT, Chiromon, Gen AI. So I will give you guys a lot of insights. What are must-have skills in 2026 if you want to build a career in AI, tech, okay, and in general in the world of AI. Okay, so we'll be discussing that. That session is next week. Okay, so we'll be doing couple of 2, 3 sessions based on that. Just that will give you a lot of insights, and then that will also give you clarity, like if you want to build a career in tech or not, or if you want to go towards this or not, and what is the right path. Okay. Okay. So thank you so much, guys, for joining. Okay, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you. Bye.